All right, I'm on. Excuse me, I'm on the Spring Major 2019. This is hole number 1 in Monday's qualifying round for the rookie division, and I haven't played all of the holes that are on this course, so I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to bring on all of these holes. But I'm definitely going for the green in one. I'm going to practice that shot. You can do a layup over here, you can do a layup over here, but and this layup over here is pretty easy, but you got to pick the right clubs coming in. But instead of going out here, you got a nice, I've tried that shot, you have a nice short iron in, or you can do the layup over here, but either you're going to bounce over the trap or you're going to bring backspin clubs. But what I'm going to try and do is do a max overpower and see if I can get up here without getting in the sand, but get up there closer. So the deal is picking a spot out here. And depending on the ball, so if I pick a Kingmaker, this is a pretty big turn to make, so I'll need a 3-side spin ball, so I have to bring a Kingmaker. And I'll have to pick a spot out here that's far enough out, so it may end up being like this transitional line out here. I gotta find some spot out there. I've only practiced this shot once. But I'm gonna practice that shot all week long, and if in the weekend round I haven't figured it out, then I'll just do a traditional shot. And if at all during practice, I'm going to continue to do the max overpower hook until I find that angle. So let's make sure we got our clubs. Got an extra mile. And I'm going to definitely bring a Kingmaker. I'm going to try and get it done with. So let's bring our accurate stuff. Make sure we got an accurate bag. Switch back to my Hornet. I was playing with some commons, just practicing with them. I definitely like the Hornet better. All right, here we go. Hole number 1. Spring Major. These majors, and this is brand new hole, so we've never played these holes before. I usually do fairly well on tournaments where we play with brand new holes. And I start off a little slow because the first time it happened to me, I played the heck out of those new holes and had them down, and then got in the tournament and epic failed like every hole. When I first start playing them, I play them a lot more organic. So I'm just out playing. It's just another hole. Especially now that you have multiple bags, so you can bring an accurate bag and you can bring a distance bag, and then you can bring a combo bag that's accurate driver, distance. More bags you have, the higher up whatever tours you're playing in, you want to have bags set up for those tours, because there's always those 2 or 3 holes that are. So my opponent's going for the layup shot up here, and they sliced it a little. Maybe they're going for the hook. Ended up in the sand. So I have no idea where I can get out here. Man, I can almost get over. I'm going to balance those out. I can almost get over. With that wind, I can. I might just be able to do a straight in shot, but I think the max overpower hook's better. So I want to land out in this area. So there's 1, there's 2. I'm going to go with straight line with that transitional, and I'm going to leave the wind in. And we got all of that. And it wasn't out far enough. I went out too far. I probably could have set the gold ring, the center ring, right on that transitional line, and that would have been the right spot. We were that far in. I'll go back and watch the video and see right where I set it up and watch my landing zone, figure out that angle, but it looks like it was at least half a ring set. But even if you epic fail out there, you can still get on. Where's my max club? I'm eking towards mid. And mid's about 4 per ring, so that's about a half a ring. And I hit it great to the right. And that was definitely great to the right. I'm not trying to qualify today anyway, so I'm missing all my putts. Hail Mary. Relatively new player. Played in some tournaments. That's what's important. It's the most important thing in this game is playing in tournaments. It's the most fun. What's fun is learning how to play these holes in tournaments, and then also learning how to play them in one-on-one, because you're going to play them different. I'm not going to burn, and most people aren't going to burn really good balls on some of these holes. Now some holes have trick shots, and to stay in the game, if I get the right wind, I'll pull that trick shot out because I want to keep my hand in it. You have brand new holes, you have nothing to go by. Oh, I was going to miss that putt. Totally forgot. I was like, oh, we need to go to a shootout. You thought the video was over. All right, hole number 1. Hey, I caught this hole another time in my other account. And so the first time around the bend, I'm just adding this on to that hole number 1 video so we can get some good notes. If I was on the right page. So hole number 1. All right, so the first time through here, when it was fully extended, so I had an extra mile and a kingmaker, and I'm fully extending, trying to see where the max overpower would get me. With that line up there, let me scroll in just a little bit. You can see the transitional line between the second cut of the rough. This is the second, this is the first, this is the third cut of the rough. The transitional line between the second and the third. When it was fully extended out here, I had my center spot even with that. So it lined up like this. So when you looked at it, there was actually about a ring difference down here between the third cut of the rough and the second cut of the rough. So I started off, it was on this line, but up here was even. And I balanced out, and in that account I had a level 8 extra mile, and I balanced them out so that I had as much as I could get of both of them. So I moved it in, and I ended up hitting out in this area. So I took my white ring, which was originally like in this area. I took my white ring and I moved it all the way out to the transition between the fairway and the first cut of the rough. This transition. And when it was pulled to its maximum point, where I was fully extended out, I was out in this area right here, and I had my white ring just rubbed up against here. So when I relaxed it, when I relaxed it, I was actually out a little bit into this fairway, but I was using the fully extended part to pick the line. I got all of the hook. Now in this account right here, it only has a level 7 extra mile, so it doesn't have that last little bit of power. Might be a level 6. And so it has a little teeny bit less power, so I made sure I put on all the power and all of the side spin that I could get on there. But make sure that all of the top spin was left in. And on this one, I hit it just perfect, where it's this shot down here getting over this fairway I see as being problematic no matter how perfect you hit that shot. You know, I mean, there's times that you might get through it, and there's times that you might end up in it. But it looked like you had enough speed down there that you might roll out even if you roughed into it. So let me play this video here. Let's watch the setup of the shot. So I got a Kingmaker, and you can see what I put on there. I put on all of the top spin and every bit of left-hand side spin I could get. I'm going to pause it right there. I wish I could move this screen up, but you can see where my white line is right on that transition between the fairway and the first cut of the rough. So when you get down into this point, when I release it, the white line's actually in the fairway just a little bit, but I used it when it was maximum adjusted as my point of reference. A key thing to write down on your notes is 2.9. We have a 2.9 headwind right here. So I got this shot with a 2.9 headwind with this club. This is in my 88 account. So if you get into a round where you get a 4.5 wind or you get a higher wind than 2.9, you might want to be careful, because the higher wind's going to throw us forward further, but when we come around the arc and we get over to this side of the arc, yeah, if I can get my pen to work in the wrong screen, but if you can, it'll change the trajectory. So there's a certain range of wind that the shot will still work, but if you get out of that range, you know, and it might be really tight, like maybe it needs to be right around 3 wind, and 3.5 doesn't work, and 2.5 doesn't work. So, you know, you want to keep an eye on that number, because we're actually using the wind. A lot of times when I take these max overpower hook shots, I take the wind out. And I take the wind out because the wind's a variable, and I eliminate that variable. So I'm practicing that shot, and I don't want to have to, especially when you're practicing it one-on-one and you've got all different types of wind. You know, you kind of have to suck it up with when you have headwind. But if you've got any wind that's moving in a forward direction, any wind, you can take that wind out, and you can kind of get a better idea where the shot's going to go. All right, let's see how I set it up. And watch the bounces. It's really important to watch the bounces here. So you can see how the white ring is a little in the fairway. And I did get all of that. Nice flight from here. Lots of room on the first bounce. Lots of room on the second bounce. And the second bounce was critical. It hit. Woo! That was close. Okay, let's stop. Let's pause here for a second. Let's go back and look at that in Golf Clash Notebook. So when it came down, here, it had plenty of room out in this area, and it bounced like right there. I mean, it was pretty close to that rough, and was able to carry over on that second bounce and then move forward in this direction. It's the deal here is you can see how tight it's going to get. If you took this trajectory right here and you moved it out just a little, so that you could get this bounce to right here, so that you could clear this fairway just a little bit better, give yourself a little bit more leeway. The deal is that the ball, everything here is moving in a right-hand direction. So from here to here to here, we're moving in a right-hand direction. So if we go further to the right, then we put this sand right here into play. And that's a pretty narrow gap when you're going down there at the very end of a run on an extra mile. So even though it's really close right here, and occasionally you may get caught up in the rough down there, it may not always get that perfect bounce like that. But if once every round, every other time, you got up here or gave yourself the chance to get up here, and one of the times you ended up down here in the rough, you're this close in the rough, wind's not as big a factor. So it's easier to adjust your rough iron and your sand wedge when they're close and wind's not a factor, because those clubs are super accurate when they're close, because they hit for so far. You know, their numbers go from 0 to 125 or 0 to 91 or 0 to whatever it is that you have. And so when they're far away, that's their numbers. But when you start pulling them close, they are really accurate clubs. So I think I'm definitely going to go for that shot in that way. So once again, just to kind of recap that, fully extended white ring along this transitional line between the fairway and the first cut of the rough. I used a Kingmaker and an extra mile and max overpower hook to get up into this area. Now, if you're having problems, and like with my lower level account, when I tried this shot out on it, I think what my problem is going to be is I don't have enough topspin, and I don't think it's going to carry enough weight when it gets down here to get over that. So I'm going to end up in the front. So on it, I actually might have to make an adjustment so that I stay in the front and I stay out of the sand. You know, it'd be better to be right here. So you have to look at the way your club's hitting. If you've got whatever level club you have, if you've got a higher level club, then, you know, obviously my goal now is, now that I've seen it happen, my goal is to try and get over. But with my other account, I may end up laying up out here. That might be the smart shot, because the whole deal is I picked up what I wanted to pick up. I got everything I could get out of that shot. Now I'm in my wedge range, and the best everybody else can be is in their short iron range. And you can get pretty accurate with a wedge. I'd have to switch my wedge up here and play a different wedge than a Firefly just for accuracy. Fireflies work great when they're close up, but they're not very accurate clubs. All right, that was hole number 1 of the 2019 Spring Major. Thanks for watching.